Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to a Time for Truth show. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, and it's a pleasure to share with you again today. Many of you have been asking, how do I obtain the previous show segments? And it's very simple. Go to YouTube, A Time for Truth show, and click on subscribe, and you'll be able to view all of the previous segments. So today, we have a very important show. Why? Because of what's happening globally with racial prejudice, religious prejudice, with lack of nutrition, lack of food, with poor economies, with economic and social strife, conflict, besetting many, many different countries. And in today's world, things have changed. So it's very important that we move forward together. And so we're very lucky today to be with someone who's a leader in a very important group of bringing forward what's happening globally. And Buddha, if you can put him up on the screen, I want to introduce the Reverend Dr. Agorom Dike, the president and founder of the Caribbean African Faith-Based Leadership Conference and liaison to the White House Faith-Based Cabinet Offices. He's the international director for the White House Prayer of Our Nations Incorporated, and holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of West Indies, a Master's of Divinity equivalence from the United Theological College of the West Indies, and a dual Master of Divinity and Doctor of Ministry from Howard University School of Divinity in Washington, D.C. The doctor has led numerous humanitarian initiatives and interfaith dialogues to address health disparities and economic development, social justice, stigmatization, civic participation, religious literacy, immigration reform, and faith-based partnerships. Dr. Dike has also spoken at numerous workshops, conventions, brain trust conferences at various denominational, ecumenical, congressional, academic institutions, churches, and diaspora groups throughout the United States, the Caribbean, Africa, and Asia. As an international faith-based thought leader, Dr. Dike organizes the Caribbean and African International Faith Leaders Conference and awards dialogues, interventions, diaspora briefings, and mission partnerships with the United States government faith-based cabinet office. Some of the faith and public engagement centers he engages include the White House Office of Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships, USAID, USCIS, U.S. Department of Justice, Health and Human Services, Departments of Education, Commerce and Agriculture, Homeland Security, FEMA, and the Small Business Administration. The doctor also collaborates several initiatives with Constituency for Africa, Institute of Caribbean Studies, the Caribbean Research Council, Center for American Progress, the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, and the African Caribbean Staff Association at the Inter-American Development, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and the American Baptist Churches USA. He served as faculty research scholar and member of the Criminal Justice Institute at Howard University and the Biblical Institute of Social Change. He's a recipient of several awards, including the President's Volunteer Service Award, the Howard University Faculty Research Scholar Award, White House Prayer of Our Nations Award, the Made Man Award, the New York City Jamaica 54th Independence Award, the Governor Larry Hogan Citation, on and on and on and on. In actuality, if we just dealt with what this doctor humanitarian does, we would have no time left to have a show tonight. Most importantly, his biblical philosophy is, with man, some things are impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Very true. And so, Buddha, if you put him up on the screen, we want a bit of warm welcome to Dr. Agorom Dike to a Time for Truth show. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you very much for having me, sir.
It's a pleasure and an honor to have you. You're a very diverse and unbelievably prolific personality, and I want to get right to it so we can share your knowledge. So let's first, I'm very curious, what made you decide to take on this clergy career that you have?
Well, from a child, I had a great passion for ministry. I felt a deep sense of calling to the Christian ministry. I have been involved in ministry activities from 7 years old. I have been involved in different Christian school fellowships, Baptist youth camps, numerous evangelistic activities as a youngster. And I felt a deep passion that God wanted me to pastor. And years ago, as a youngster, I made myself available to serve for theological training at the United Theological College of the West Indies, sponsored by the Jamaica Baptist Union, and later to serve in the pastorate, where I pastored 4 churches in St. Thomas, Jamaica. So that's a gist of how I end up serving in the Christian ministry as a pastor.
Very interesting. And why is it that you decided to concentrate in the Caribbean and African regions?
Well, having migrated to the United States, I came here and did a master's and dual master's and doctorate at Howard School of Divinity. I felt led to embark on my passion for evangelism and missions, and studied multicultural opportunities and models for multicultural missions at Howard University. And after leaving Howard, there was a need to bring together Caribbean faith leaders to engage with the U.S. administration. And I was given that opportunity by the Institute of Caribbean Studies. And after that, I recognized that there were so many other faith-based cabinet offices. There were so many needs and challenges that our churches had. We had issues around immigration. We had issues around civil crisis in different countries, religious persecution. And there needed to be a voice. There needed to be a secretariat that facilitate engagement. And it is out of that call and with other leaders reaching out to me, I recognized that there was a need for the Caribbean and African Faith-Based Conference. And that is how our conference started. And that is what led me to be a voice, to be an organizer, and to be a facilitator of dialogues and interventions for our African and Caribbean leaders. And I realized that it's not just an avenue for intervention, but it's a big networking opportunity where we are able to facilitate mission partnerships between people who want to do missions in Africa or the Caribbean or in our diasporas in Asia, in London, or here in the United States. So I'm happy to work with this constituency because I also have a deep sense of passion for diversity, and I realize the impact that we can make globally as a people of African and Caribbean heritage.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. And as we were talking about at the beginning of the show, is that I was actually born in Cuba, and so obviously I'm very happy that you're dealing in the Caribbean area. And to me, the Caribbean and African areas bring a lot of energy to our world. There's a lot of spirituality, music, dance, and really just a lot of spirit that goes in those areas. For some reason, your camera, there we go, your camera went off for a moment, but you're back on with us now. So what I wanted to ask you, because I see that you have a very large upcoming Caribbean African faith-based leadership conference on September 30th, October 1st in Washington, D.C. So what issues will be discussed at this conference?
Okay, it's interesting to know you're born in Cuba because I went to Cuba during my class as a contemporary theology student from the University of the West Indies, and what great missions are there in Cuba. Now, as it relates to the conference, first of all, the conference will be held September 30th to October 1st during the Congressional Black Caucus Convention. And this is a platform that brings together numerous policymakers, actors, faith community leaders, civic leaders, advocates to come together to network and to engage or Black members of Congress and to discuss issues that affect us as a Black people or an African people throughout the United States. This conference, the Caribbean and African Faith-Based Conference, we're having our own independent conference under that covering. And this year we are focusing on the theme, United in Faith for Social Change. The theme, the general mission of our conference is to promote transformational leadership and economic development through faith-based partnership. But we're looking at some of the challenges, the issues of poverty, the issues of religious intolerance and persecution happening in Africa, the issues of the need for economic support, economic empowerment in the Caribbean. And so looking at civil crisis, immigration reform. So looking at all the challenges and issues we want to address, we think that the theme United in Faith, bringing faith leaders together to unite, to fight for social change, or to implement policies, to implement programs, to share ideas around social change is what we decide to focus on this 2022 conference. So we will be looking at how do we deal with religious tolerance? How do we overcome religious persecution? So we'll be having panels on that. We'll be looking at the immigration issues. As you know, Africa has over 50 different countries here, the Caribbean, 14 countries in the English-speaking Caribbean, although we include Haiti. And there are so many immigration issues between Haitian, between Cameroon, people running for refugee settlement, people running from religious persecution in Nigeria and elsewhere. There are so many issues around immigration that we need to talk about, and how do we engage the US government to bring relief or to create policies. Right here in the diaspora, we have so many persons who are dealing with numerous status, refugee status, asylum, and so we want to address that issue, as immigration is a very significant issue to us. And so we also want to look at models for social and economic development, to bring our leaders to talk about that, and to give leaders a chance to engage about how do we do mission partnerships. What are the opportunities that we currently have in West Africa, East Africa, North Africa, or South Africa, or the Eastern Caribbean, or the Greater Antilles in the Caribbean, for engagement, and to also engage in missions in Asia. We have African churches in Tokyo. We have African churches in Seoul, South Korea. We have African and Caribbean churches throughout the European hemisphere. How together globally we can engage more and look at the opportunities for missions throughout these constituencies and networks.
Absolutely. And I had looked regarding your conference and seeing the diversity and the magnitude of what you're holding. So I would think that this would be a tremendous opportunity for those entrepreneurs or companies that have products that could improve on those very situations that you're talking about. So take a few moments here, and what would you like them to know in terms of the opportunities that will be existing at this conference for them?
Well, when one looks at our African and Caribbean communities, there are still health disparities. There's still global health crisis, public health challenges. We have a need. There's a high rate of blindness, amputation, chronic illnesses such as diabetes, such as high blood hypertension, and there are numerous health challenges. And so there are also issues about the quality food that we eat as Black folks, as people living in these countries, and there is need for better food for health. So there are opportunities to engage our agriculture sector, our healthcare sector, our educational sector, our religious sector, for partnerships. As we know, faith-based organizations are very resourceful. We have people, we have buildings, we have human resource, we have capital, we have people of all professions within our churches and other religious institutions. And so there's opportunity to engage for partnerships, whether to improve agriculture in our countries, to improve healthcare, and to improve different aspects educationally and other forms to empower our people. So businesses that are in industrial society, that are doing business in agriculture, trying to launch and expand educational networks, such as universities that want to embark on these markets, businesses that wants to sell various products to improve. As you know, you're dealing with millions of people in the continent and in the region of the Caribbean. And so there are opportunities to engage and to be connected with leaders of our banking sectors, leaders of our agricultural sectors, leaders of our educational sectors and health institutions. We have a lot of our people here in the diaspora, hundreds of doctors and nurses that goes on medical missions that require numerous equipments and supplies to do missions. And so there are always opportunities to engage new models, new technology, and other resources that can be useful as we try to deal with the challenges and meet the needs of our people.
Excellent. This past week I was at the World Conference of Mayors convention, and there we spoke about educating in the cities, drug education to prevent all of the crime and violence that's associated with the drugs. And the other thing that we did at the mayor's meeting is we spoke about agriculture and a new technology, a new breakthrough in agriculture. It'd be very interesting to see if the World Conference of Mayors, could come and be invited to your conference. I know Mayor Ford, who's the president, probably would welcome that, and so it could be mutually expanding and get these programs out to a lot of people who are in need, in a world of need, So I really look forward to this meeting that you're having. And I wanted to ask you, because I see you work a lot with the White House and different governmental organizations. Tell us a little bit about that and what the goals are with what we're going to be doing moving forward.
Well, our conference serves as a liaison to the White House faith-based cabinet offices, both domestic and international, and we technically facilitate access to our constituency for engagements and partnerships. And the U.S. government also has policies for engagement, and so we from time to time we have meetings around different programs that the U.S. government provides domestically through FEMA and Homeland Security. There are safety and security grants. There are different grants that they provide for churches, the Health and Human Services, opportunities to work around healthcare enrollment and dealing with different health disparities, and also the opportunities to engage the USCIS through the faith-based cabinet offices. So we do that on a domestic level, but through the Office of Religious and Global Affairs and USAID, there are also opportunities to engage internationally. The USAID currently have what you call the new partnership initiatives that gives opportunities for new partners and underutilized partners to partner with the US government in meeting some of the needs in getting grants and support. As you know, USAID gives over $40 billion a year for engagement globally, for partnerships globally, for their missions globally. Over $5 billion of that money goes to Africa. And so there are there are faith-based institutions that need the access to funding, access to partnerships. And so we facilitate those dialogues. And so it's vice versa. We help the government to engage our constituency and vice versa. And so these are just some of the issues. Also, there are opportunities to engage the Congress. There are opportunities to engage Office of Religious and Global Affairs or the Office on Human Rights, Civilian Security, and Global Justice on the different crises and issues. As you know, many of our African countries that face civil crisis, sometimes it's political, and they need to engage the US government for intervention. We do facilitate opportunities for intervention and dialogues with the State Department and with other offices here in the US in order to get the United States support or intervention.
Very, very important what you're doing. What email should people contact you at, Doctor?
So the email of the organization is info@cafblc.com, as in Caribbean African Faith-Based Leadership Conference. So that's info@cafblc.com. Or to reach me directly, it's my initials and last name. That is A as in Apple, Dike. That's ADIKE at cafblc.com. So those are the best emails to reach me, ADIKE at cafblc.com. And you can see information on our website at cafblc.com. You can look up Caribbean African Faith-Based Leadership Conference online, and that should take you to our website as well.
Excellent. Well, you know, my friend and colleague in this drug war is former Globetrotter Robert Hunter, and he talked to me a lot about you and your group, and I look forward to seeing how we bring drug-free world to educate these youth all over the world, keep them off of drugs, get violence to decrease, get shootings to decrease, and to get there's a health product with a remote health pod that can be sent, and there's the agricultural product. There's so much. I look forward to working with you. And what I was going to ask you, as we reach the end of the show, what concluding remark would you like to leave with the viewers watching the show?
Well, I also want to notify viewers that during our conference, one of the main feature of the conference is the International Leadership Awards, and we partner in giving the U.S. President Lifetime Achievement Awards for voluntary service, and so a number of our leaders across the different sectors of society will be recognized for their voluntary service, and a number of our faith leaders, traditional rulers, including kings of kingdoms and civic leaders from across Africa and the Caribbean, will be receiving international awards during this conference. So just want to say to everyone, it's planned to be in Washington, D.C., September 30th to October 1st at the Marriott Marquis. It will be an opportunity to engage us and also to network with the Congressional Black Caucus Convention, where you can participate in the grand prayer breakfast there and policy sessions. Plan to be here. This is where you can connect with leaders from Sierra Leone, Gambia, Liberia, Zimbabwe, all over Ghana, Nigeria, Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica, wherever. This is an opportunity to engage our faith and civic leaders and corporate leaders and engage in partnerships and connect with our people from across the globe. So thank you very much, and looking forward to your support with sponsorships, donations, and your attendance at this great conference.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure to have you. And for those of you watching, sponsor this, support this. Together, working towards common goals definitely is the way in this very large, interconnected world that we live in today. So thank you for being on the show, Dr. Dike. And for those of you watching, have a great night and tune in next time for our next program. Be well.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
You too, my friend.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet